So after what was a truly insane race at Mosport just 1 week ago, we welcome you live to round 4 of the Afterburn Indycar Series here on Glacier TV. Will Vincent, Yoni Backman, Doyle Johnson in the booth. Just having a look at the last couple of moments of qualifying as we speak. Sean Stroud on the number 21 Watcher Designs machine currently setting the pace with a 17.685 qualifying time. And Doyle, I'll come to you first. Last week out at Mosport was pretty insane, but today we're going to pretty much no other word to describe it but a bull ring.
Yeah, well, it's going to be quite a bit different than we've seen at the road race. So we're back at the ovals. We've got some faces that we haven't seen for a couple of weeks due to the fact we were doing road races, so it should be exciting. Round and round we go.
Round and round we go for 250 laps around this 0.875 mile track here at Iowa Speedway. We'll take you through the track in just a couple of moments' time, and the banking on this track probably is one of the most important things to talk about, as it's 12 degrees on the bottom, 14 degrees up top on the banking, and a number of these drivers will be looking to make use of the different line options that are available.
That's what we're hoping. We're hoping that we can get two wide racing, and there'll be lots of passing opportunities. Some things have changed with iRacing, so we're hoping that today will be an exciting race with lots of lead changes like we've seen in the past.
So currently 17 drivers have qualified for this race. Keeping an eye out, it doesn't look as though the duo of Young O or Tim Doyle have qualified as of yet, and they've only got themselves a couple of seconds to do so. So maybe, like they did by accident in Homestead Miami Speedway 3 weeks ago, they might be starting this race from the rear, and it'll be interesting to see them go around this racetrack.
It could quite well be that they're looking to start from the back and giving themselves some challenge. I guess a couple people could take that a few different ways, but we'll see what happens if they start at the back of the pack, and what happens if they can manage to make their way up through the other race cars on the track.
Yeah, so what we'll do is we'll be getting our in-race reporter, Jonathan Goke, in to the booth in just a moment's time. But Doyle, just very quickly, take us through this racetrack. Very small, very bumpy, and you're going to see quite a bit of two-wide racing here. Yes,
you're going to see a lot of two-wide racing. You're going to see a lot of people trying to choose their line. There's a lot of bumps, especially the bumps coming out of turn 1. Those will get you if you get too high on the racetrack. That's a possible spinning hazard. So you do that. Getting too low on the apron, another possible spinning hazard. So there could be a lot of cars going around swapping ends during this race. So, I'm thinking that before it's over, I think we're going to probably have about half the field, but I could be mistaken on that, judging from the quality of drivers we have today.
And momentarily, we're going to bring our in-race reporter, Jonathan Goke, in the 08 Purple Fury Aero X machine. Jonathan, qualified second here today. You're looking to bounce back after a difficult race at Mosport 8 days ago.
Well, actually, I didn't race at Mosport. My last race was at Daytona, where, yes, I had a very difficult race.
And I was a track that really does suit you well. Obviously, you're starting second in the race, so that's a big advantage. But also, you like the way this track feels and how you can handle your car over the bumps. How difficult is it going to be over what is going to be a very long and difficult race to get yourself to the lead and stay there?
Well, I'm not planning on winning. We got the likes of Tim Doyle and Yang and everybody, so I'm just going to try to ride. I mean, there's no use racing for the first 200 laps, so just going to ride, see what happens. Very satisfied with the second place start. I actually screwed up turn 1 and 2, so very satisfied to start alongside my teammate Sean.
Well, very good luck to you in the race. We'll send you back over to your friends and teammates, and we'll talk to you later on.
Hey, well.
So, to run your way through the starting order, Sean Stroud will line up on the inside of row number 1 with Jonathan Goke alongside him. Jeffrey Kohlbergen in the number 79 machine starts in 3rd, Mark Warmington in 4th, Randy Krosno in 5th, Corey Kisman in 6th, Matthew Lambert and Mike Larson in 8th, Nico Brandt 9th, and Dave Jinks in 10th. Dan the Engine 11th, John Ailes in 12th, Giorgio Ponti 13th, Robert Carlson in 14th, Julian Pham in 15th, Rene Murray in 16th, Fabio Perettoli in 17th, and then you have Tyndall and Young-O in 18th and 19th, both who did not set a qualifying time, and we are going to be getting the 1 lap to go to green this time by. Doyle, any closing thoughts before we go green?
No, sir. I'm just ready for the race. The only thought I have is it looks like we've only got a couple people that were actually running our road races today, but it's interesting to see. I'm going to keep my eye on the car, the number 24 car of Nico Brandt, see how he does when we only turn left.
Well, we always talk about how Nico Brandt is one of the most versatile drivers in the iRacing series, of how he somehow managed to be good on road and oval, be it in the Indycar. We see him in the Corvettes and the HPDs. So it's going to be very interesting to see how he gets along with this field. Some very good names. Keep an eye out once again on Tim Doyle and Young-O starting from the back. They're going to see if they can make their way through the field. Sean Stroud, on the other hand, he is absolutely no slouch. He won the Season 4 overall championship, so keep an eye out on him in that CSRvirtualR.net Team Afterburn machine as pace car is in, and round 4 of the Afterburn IndyCar series is green. And you're going to see a little bit of two-wide racing as the field try to get a little bit of gap. You see Matthew Lambertson immediately on the attack, trying to work the high side around Randy Crosno as they come into turn number 3. The laps will tick off here very, very quickly. It's only about an 18-second lap, and you see still 2 wide to come down to complete lap number 1. Jonathan Goke almost collecting there Jeffrey Kohlberg, and that is a battle for 2nd and 3rd position. I tell you what though, we have got ourselves a 9-car breakaway down the end in 10th. He's dropped to a good 2nd behind this lead pack of 9 cars, but they are very close together. As you see, Matthew Lamberton's got himself around Randy Crosno, and the top 5 cars separated by less than 7/10 of a second as we come down the road to complete lap number 3. You see Matthew Lamberton there getting very loose. He's going to bring the car down to the inside. He's going to lose himself a good 4 positions as he's going to drop back into the 9th spot. Meanwhile, at the same time, Nico Brandt managed to get around Mike Larson, get himself up into 8th position, immediately working down the inside of Randy Crosno.
It looks like Sean Stroud got caught up on the outside and was passed by Jeffrey Kohlbergen and Jonathan Goke, and Jeffrey Kohlbergen is now scored as your leader. Sean Stroud really struggling on that outside line there. Seems to be stuck out there on the wall. I'm not sure what happened to Sean.
So he started the race in 1st position. Sean Stroud is now down into the 4th spot. As we are looking currently at Jonathan Goke in the number 8, our in-race reporter. He is trying to get himself into position so he can make a move on your race leader, Jeffrey Kohlberg, in the number 79 IRX machine. I tell you what though, Rene Murray, he looks as though he's already going to go that lap down in pretty much just a matter of time. Caution is out, having a look back through the field to see who is involved there. But it does look as though Fabio Perettoli is going slowly. And so the caution was Mike Larson in the number 72, just spinning it loose on the exit of turn number 4. Manages to keep it going, doesn't hit anyone, but we're under caution for the first time on lap number 7. But a self-spin there, and Larson was very lucky to avoid ruining his or anyone else's races.
Well, that's what I talked about earlier. There'd be a lot of cars swapping ends. It's very, very easy to oversteer these cars and get loose coming out of the corners. Plus the wall out there, it comes up real quick.
Oh yeah, I've done thousands and thousands of laps at this racetrack from the day it was released, and the 2 main issues always seem to be the bump in turn number 1. You won't really be able to see it on your TV screens, but just as you hit the apex in turn number 1, I see Young-O Tim Doyle coming down pit lane along with Mike Larson. And is that going to be Julian Pham coming down as well? Yes, he is in the number 78 machine. So I believe that's 5 cars coming down pit lane. And Jonathan Goke's down pit lane as well. So yeah, the first main thing is the bump in turn number 1. You're not going to see it on your TV screen, but there's a horrible bump right on that inside line, and as you hit it, your steering just goes completely light for a moment, and you've got to be very careful not to brush up into the second lane if there's a car on your outside. But then turn number 4, just as the banking falls away, because it falls away so differently on the exit of turn 4 onto the front straightaway in comparison to that on the back, the car does like to get very tail happy as you come out the corner, and expect to see a number of drivers spinning around on the exit of turn 4.
And we just looked at the replay of Mike Larson's spin, and it really was not that exciting. It's just pretty much got loose and swapped ends and brought her down on the apron and back onto the track. It doesn't look like he got any damage from that. So he'll still be out there on the racetrack. Just lost some positions and maybe a little pride.
So 5 cars came down pit lane. Jonathan Goke, Mike Larson, Julian Pham, Tim Doyle and Young O all come down pit lane. So these guys are playing a little bit of strategy earlier on. The fuel window here is about 68 laps. If you were to take 7 lanes, I believe. But you can go down 2 very unique options when talking about strategy here. Some drivers will just fill it up to the maximum 22 gallons. Other drivers will only take 17 gallons, knowing that their speed will be about half a tenth to a tenth faster, and they'll be able to be a lot more cautious on their tyres. So, Doyle, that's going to come in really interesting as this race progresses to see who's on which strategy.
Yes, it is, because the fact that you have some cars that decided to pit and some that didn't, especially people like Jonathan Goke in second place, who told us he was just going to ride for 200 laps. But I had a feeling when he was right behind Jeffrey Koolbergen and they were passing Sean Stroud that his brain switched into race mode there. So maybe this will help him calm down by being back in the pack. But then, go ahead, sir.
Well, they always say that when you're in second and all you know is there's 1 car ahead of you between not only the race lead but clean air, you're going to want to get yourself into the lead. And perhaps that is what Jonathan Goke was trying to do. But now being at the back of the pack, he's got the option to ride, but his 08 Purple Fury machine is so much faster than a couple of the other cars on this racetrack. The way it's set up, it does look as though it's beautiful over the bumps in turn 1. So he's going to have to make sure he doesn't run over some slower cars here.
Yeah, and that's something that we know Jonathan. We've raced with him a lot, and hopefully he can not get too overzealous, take his time, and make his way through the pack, and not cause any kind of crashes. I mean, even up front here, it's early in the race, so you hope that people will line up and just kind of run the race and take advantage of opportunities rather than push each other off the racetrack.
So lights are out on the pace car. We're going to be going green at the end of lap number 12 here at Iowa Speedway. Round 4 of the Afterburn IndyCar Series presented by Glacier TV. Jeffrey Koolbergen in the number 79 Aero X Racing Machine is in first position. Mark Warmington in second. Sean Stroud in third. Kari Kisman in fourth. And Randy Krosno will round out your top 5. And we're going to be going green in just a matter of seconds' time. And for Jeffrey Koolbergen, giving props to the driver, he's managed to get his way from third into first position, so keep an eye to see whether he can maintain that lead as the pace car is going to make that hard left turn down to pit lane. Jeffrey Koolbergen bringing the speed up now, green flag in the air, we're back to racing at Iowa.
And you immediately see Matthew Lamberson go to the outside, and now you've got some 2 wide back there. We'll see what happens with that. So single file restarts definitely are going to help us get this pack straightened out and not have so many crashes on the restarts.
Matthew Lambertson looking down to the inside there of the number 20 machine of Kari Kisman as he brings it down to turn number 1 and lap 14. Manages to get the job done beautifully there on the bumps on the inside line. Did look as though Kisman gave just a little bit of room in that number 20 car to allow Lambertson to complete the pass. But meanwhile, the top 3 have separated themselves out by just a couple of attempts. Sean Stroud's currently sat in third, Mark Warmington in second, but Jeffrey Koolbergen is still your leader, and he's got himself a good 2 car lengths advantage.
Well, it's interesting to note up front, you've basically got Aero X and at Team Afterburn up front right now leading this race all the way down to, except for Kari Kisman, all the way down to 6th place. So it's going to be interesting to see how some of these other drivers come up through the field, and and kind of break that up and see if they can get in between these teammates.
As you talk about coming through the field, Tim Doyle managed to get himself around John Ailes in the number 14 Old Spice machine to bring himself up into the 11th position. He's now going to be hunting down Young O, who was his teammate pretty much and running partner for the entirety of the Homestead race. Young O putting all sorts of pressure onto the back of Dave Jinks in the number 76 West USA machine, but it does look as though once again Tim Doyle is making the charge from the rear of the field. He's now up into 11th position, but Jonathan Goat is also hassling a little bit on Rene Murray. That is the battle. Sorry, Rene Murray is currently 2 laps down, so he's going to be put a lap down again. But Jonathan Goat currently sat in 14th, wants to get around this lap traffic. As though he said he's not going to be racing, he still wants to keep in touch with this lead group.
Interesting thing too is we just saw Dave Jinks let Young O go, and he actually literally, rather than racing, just kind of pulled over and let him go by. And I don't know if that's an intimidation thing or what's exactly going on with people just letting him roll by.
Well, it could be a little bit of that. You see Young O there making a pass down the inside to take down the Ench for 8th position. But it could be that. But let's not forget, the way this draft works, you could be going so much faster if you've got a car who's got that speed alone to literally just pull you around the racetrack. That could enable drivers like Dan the Ench and Dave Jinks to start catching up this lead group of 7 cars. You see Tim Dyer now in the number 11 Foyt Wines machine coming down to the inside, taking both Dave Jinks and Dan Lynch in the same corner. Dave Jinks looking to try and capitalise as he's looking down to the inside of Dan Lynch. Not going to make it work. He tucks in single file again. But it does look as though Young O's pulling away from these two. But now they're going to see whether or not they can try and use Tim Doyle to put him around the racetrack.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's the plan. Tim Doyle, he and Young O, I do believe, if nothing else, Young will probably pull back. They're going to try to team up and run the draft, just like we've seen them time and time again at all the other tracks. And the idea is obviously 2 cars better than 1 in the draft. So it won't be long before they're catching up to the cars up front.
Out front, Sean Stroud trying to work the high side around Matthew Lambertson. You see Lambertson also looking down to the inside of Mark Warmington. This is the battle for second positions. Lambertson's going to be able to get down the inside, make the path stick. And now his next target is going to be for the lead. And the position currently occupied by Jeffrey Kohlbergen in the number 79 machine. But I tell you what, Mark Warmington not giving up that position back just yet. And one of the things we haven't talked about is how you can potentially pin a driver down to the inside line to make their job a lot more difficult. It's pretty much something similar to what you see at tracks like Michigan, where although you can run down the inside pretty easily, if you can be forced down there, especially in turn 1, you might have to check up a little bit, and that can enable the car on the outside to get a bit of that momentum back, in some cases being able to make the pass happen.
And we've got a pretty good battle going on here between Randy Croswell and Nico Brandt. Nico's trying to get underneath him right there. Looks like he's going to go ahead and make the pass. Randy giving him lots of room. Yep, Nico's going to be coming up, and he'll be scored in 6th position.
Still got 18 cars on the lead lap. Only one driver, Rene Murray, is lapped down in the number 15 machine. But I tell you what, these drivers haven't got pushed apart from this car, but they are still making a good number of overtakes for position. But do you think Doyle, at this early stage of the race, they're just being very cautious, knowing that they've barely done 10% of the race distance? They just want to pretty much get themselves settled down, get themselves through the first series of pit stops, and then fight it out come the 3rd quarter of this race.
Well, I think that's probably a really good strategy, but as we've seen in the past between Aero X and the Team Afterburn drivers, if you look up front, I think they're actually looking for opportunities to race each other, and in this early in the race, we've seen that be catastrophic. So I'm looking for these drivers, hopefully, to settle down a bit and just lock some laps, because both teams are out in front with a good margin, and you've got some people coming up on you. You got Nico Brandt, you've got Randy Crosno, and Youngo and Tim Doyle are definitely just slowly creeping up on that 7th and 6th position. And so, hopefully up front they're not going to get too racy and cause each other to be, out of the race.
Well, I'm sure team manager for Aero X Racing, Randy Crosnay, will be having a little bit of word with some of his drivers to make sure that they don't get too racy early on. Unfortunately, Afterburn team manager can't do that for some very strange reason. But out front, Jeffrey Kohlberger is still your leader, being harassed all the time by Matthew Lambertson. Mark Warmington a car length behind in third position. Sean Stroud dropped to a couple of car lengths behind in fourth. He's being hunted down and being attacked heavily by Curry Kisman in the number 20 machine, as Young O is going for a part, looking to start lining up Randy Crosno. This is the battle for 7th position, and I tell you what, Young O has caught this pack, these two drivers, remarkably quickly in literally a space of about 15 laps.
Oh yeah, he's definitely stalking Randy Crosno. Tim Doyle is just kind of lurking in the back, kind of putting the chase on. This is definitely intentional. You know, I think they're just kind of biding their time, saving their tires, maybe even a little fuel for that next, what's probably going to be a green flag pit stop, so they can get out of their pit stalls and maybe pull up a couple positions. But once again, I think somebody needs to remind the people up front that there are 250 laps in this race.
And I tell you what, they come absolutely no better than Young O. Not only was he second place in last year's iRacing Indy 500.
Matthew Lambertson making a pass for first place. There he goes underneath Jeffrey Kohlbergen. Jeffrey's not giving it up easy though.
Yeah, Jeffrey Kohlbergen's just making sure he doesn't give up too much space down on the inside. Looks as though Lamberton's going to get the pass done easy as they sweep down to turn number 1. Kohlbergen almost turns in a little bit early there. He had to go up to the third lane. That's going to allow Mark Warmington to potentially make a move, but he just backs off the throttle a little bit. I see Kohlbergen getting very close there to Lamberton through turn 3. It doesn't look as though the fight is over between these two drivers just yet, but that has allowed, that change of position has allowed everyone back up to Kisman to catch right back up to this pack. You see once again Kohlberger looking down to the inside, getting the job done back on Lamberton in the number 19 that they almost touch.
See, this is what I'm talking about. They're getting racy. It's only lap 41, and inevitably somebody's going to take out the field. This is just not good.
Lamberton back down to the inside again to make the pass back over Jeffrey Kohlberger in the number 79. But it looks as though this time Warmington is going to get the inside lines to come down to turn 1. Is he going to try and go all the way to the lead? He's got himself down on the inside of Matthew Lamberton. He's going to the optimal line now into turn number 3. And from third position, Mark Warmington's going to get himself, as they come past the stride, to be your new race leader here at Iowa on lap 43.
This is really interesting. You've got Young O and Tim Doyle in the back just licking their chops, just waiting for these guys to take each other out this early in the race. I'm just flabbergasted at how hard they're racing at this stage of the game. And I think you've got Sean Stroud and Kari Kisman back there. They're holding back a little bit. They don't want to participate in this, and they're probably smart to do so.
I'll tell you what. A number of egos, a lot of pride on the line here as Lamberton looking back down to the inside of Kohlbergen. He's going to try and take what will now be second position as Mark Warmington is your race leader. It does look as though Kisman and Sean Stroud are hanging back just a little bit, but I tell you what, Young O's managed to get himself past Nico Brandt, as well as Tim Doyle looking to the inside now as they come out of turn 4. Tim Doyle looking to the inside of Nico Brandt, but they have caught these first 5 drivers due to them just continually fighting on the racetrack, and what was at one point a 3-second lead has evaporated to pretty much nothing.
Well, this is really going to be interesting now. You've got pretty much the whole front of the field bunched up due to the fact...
Oh, God, no!
We've
got Matthew Lamberton down on the inside. Matthew Lamberton is down on the inside. Looks as though he's looking to see if he can keep going. Going to have a look back at the replay there. I think himself and Mark Warmington just touched wheels a little bit going to turn number 1. It looked as though Lamberton turned in a little bit late. Mark Warmington turned in a little bit too early. And they'll both get away with that by the look of it. But this is what you were talking about. And that was very close to being a multi-car wreck.
There goes Bentley, spins again.
Almost spins it again. Somehow manages to keep it going. But Lamberton now is going to have to start regrouping as Tim Doyle and Young O are charging away through the field. Jeffrey Kohlbergen, in all of that, is back as your race leader. Barely have time to keep up with this as this race progresses. We're just working lap 50 of 250 now here at Iowa Speedway. Jeffrey Kohlbergen is your race leader. Mark Warrington is currently sat in second. So from the rear of the field is now up into third position. Tim Doyle in fourth. Sean Stroud in fifth. Kari Kisman in sixth. But she even has got Nico Brandt looking down to the inside of her as they come through turn number 2. Looks as though Nico Brandt is going to try and make the pass, but he just hasn't got the same straight line speed as Kisman there in the number 20.
Yeah, and exactly what we talked about. Matthew Lamberson's an extremely aggressive racer even early on. And this time, the only person that suffered the consequences is himself. But if you'll notice up front, there looks like they're kind of settling back, kind of take a deep breath, and not get so excited. But it looks like Young-O and Tim Doyle are going to light this up again. So I have a funny feeling that we're not going to go a couple more laps before we start seeing some more passing up front.
I tell you what, though, it does, as you see Tim Doyle there, very close to the wall as he came down the backstretch. Young-O is looking down to the inside of Mark Warmington. Warmington is a driver with a very strong head on him. He will know this early in the race that he will just give a little bit of room, as you see. He moves all the way up into lane 3 there, knowing that O and Doyle are coming, just letting him have the position for now. They can fight it out later on. He's going to drop back into the 4th position, tuck in right behind. But is Tim Doyle going to have a look down to the inside of Young-O to come down to turn number 1? Not quite close enough. Their next victim is going to be Jeffrey Kohlbergen in the number 79.
Yeah, now they're definitely on the hunt. Looks like Jeffrey's going to be the next target for these two here, and Mark Wormington in the back. And I think Sean Stroud's just kind of hanging back to see what's going to happen here, because typically he's just faster than anybody on this track. So I think he's trying to run a smart race. Typically him and Matthew Lamberson have really gone head-to-head here, but he seems to be kind of playing a little smarter today. Oh, look there. Young-O down underneath Jeffrey Kohlbergen. That's the look he was looking for.
That is
Jeffrey
the one opportunity. The one opportunity Young-O needed, he has taken. He's got himself into the race lead. Tim Doyle following close behind. And that will mean Jeffrey Kohlbergen will feed into 3rd position. Young-O is your new race leader. And I was trying to tell you earlier on that they come no better than Young-O is. Jeffrey Kohlbergen looking back to the inside. As you see now, Young-O just gets the draft on the outside there. That's going to help Tim Doyle out a little bit, as they're going to be 2 wide racing coming out of turn number 4. But Young-O, he was 2nd place in last year's iRacing Indy 500. He won last year's Premier Series. You see Kohlbergen still working that inside lane. Young-O...
He could use some help from the teammates there if they get behind him and give him a push.
Oh, very close there.
Almost got together. Oh, there he go again. Kohlbergen drifted a little higher there on that corner.
So this is short track IndyCar pack racing
at
its very best.
Kohlbergen's still got a nose in front of Tim Doyle. He's looking to the inside of Young-O.
He's going to get the lead back as we complete lap number 60 of 250. Jeffrey Kohlbergen passes Young-O for the lead. I'll tell you what, I would have expected to say that at the start of this race, but it does look as though Jeffrey Kohlbergen coming down pit lane.
Oh, I think Jeffrey Kohlbergen pretty much wore out his tires trying to keep his lead up front. But that was a gallant effort. What a great race he's run so far. I would have thought this was only a 75-lap race the way these guys are going at it.
Matthew Lambertson also down pit lane, and this is a very slow, long pit lane track. You lose yourself a good 2 laps if you pit under green here. Matthew Lambertson getting himself back out onto the racetrack, passing the green cones now. He can accelerate back up onto speed. And you also see now another car just heading their way down to the inside to bring themselves down pit lane. That is Fabio Piratoli. I'm just having a look back. It does look as though he might have got himself into the wall a little bit in turn number 1. He looks as though he's going to be able to drive it down to pit lane to get some minor repairs to his race car. But green flag pit stop look as though they're underway. It's Mark Warmington's also down into pit lane.
Well, I think your leaders are going to pit a lot earlier. Jeffrey Kohlbergen was out in front for so long. He burning fuel and burning tires, and you had Young-O and Tim Doyle in the back there just kind of cruising. So they're going to get a couple more laps out of their current car setup. Then you've got Sean Stroud back there just kind of hanging back there, letting them know that he's there. I'd be real surprised that if we don't see Sean Stroud making a move probably around midway to this race. So
Dave Jenks is the next car to bring themselves down into pit lane. You lose yourself 2 laps or so if you have to pit under green flag conditions. So the last thing you want is the caution to come out between the time that you're in pit lane and all the other drivers cycle through. 40 miles an hour is the speed limit down pit road as Dave Jenks brings the car into his pit box.
Oh, it's had a lapper get in Young O right there, so they're having a little bit of trouble getting through that lap traffic.
Having a look back to see just what happened there, but it did look as though it was Julian Pham who, having a look back once again, yeah, it does look it was Julian Pham who just had a little bit of a moment. Young O managing to get away unscathed, but as these drivers are lapping cars who are on different strategies, lapping cars who are legitimately laps down, you don't know necessarily whether or not how hard these guys are going to try and fight you. As for someone like Lamberton or Koolbergen, who are technically laps down, they don't want to go down another lap.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how much longer Young O and Tim Doyle stay out on the racetrack, and if they try to pit together or if they split again, one pitting one lap, one pitting the other.
So Mark Warmington into the wall. Mark Warmington into the wall just slightly there in the number 17 machine. Just very slightly, just missing the wall, barely there. But remember that Tim Doyle, Jonathan Goke, and Young O were 3 drivers who came down pit lane along with Matthew Lambertson on that first caution period. So I'd expect to see both those drivers come down pit road in about 7 or 8 laps time. So put a little black market next to lap 80. As caution is out, so caution is out on the speedway for the second time. Having a look back to see who it is, and it's Mark Warmington, who I said just a moment ago, just glanced the wall ever so slightly, and once again, Doyle, it looks as though it's going to be as the car goes over the bump this time in turn number 1.
Yeah, and looking from this, Mark Warmington was logged as 5 laps down. It looks like he pitted twice, so he must have sped through pit lane and got a black flag and had to pit again. So he was kind of in bad shape after running up front for the first portion of this race.
So for Mark, I'll tell you who avoided that beautifully, Giorgio Ponte, who literally had about a car whip between them, collecting Mark Warmington in the 00 machine there, the 00 TNT machine, sorry. And for some of these drivers, they look as though they might be pinned a lap down now.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate. That's exactly what they didn't want. They wanted the leaders to have to cycle through their pit stops just like they did on the green flag so they can get their laps up. But now you've got a lot of people that will be pinned 1 and 2 laps down. A lot of our early leaders. So it maybe that strategy of racing like there's a 10-lap race at the beginning of the race is going to be something that harms their ability to get up to the race. They could be stuck down here for the remainder of the race. We'll see what happens.
Well, we did talk about the different fuel strategies you can go down. Some drivers I've talked to say that their car feels so much better on 17 gallons. Other drivers said that they can do just as well on 22. And for drivers like Tim Doyle, it does seem that topping off on that first pit stop managed to save him from going down multiple laps. So it looks as though he was very, very lucky there. Also the same with Young O. So we'll have, by the look of it, Tim Doyle, Young O, Sean Stroud, Nico Brandt, Randy Quasno, Jonathan Goke all stayed out. And we are going to bring Mark Warmington down in just 1 moment's time to have a little bit of a chat to him, find out just what happened. So we'll bring Mark Warmington in. Mark Warmington up in the Glacier TV booth. Very unfortunate situation for you. First of all, looks like you just lost a car on the bump in the middle of turn number 1 that we've talked about quite a lot so far today.
No, the right rear was banged up and it didn't get repaired in the stop. they didn't seem to think there was anything wrong with it. So when I came out, it just wouldn't hold through the turn.
And we just having a look back, at the time that you wrecked, it did look as though you were 5 laps down. Did you get yourself a speeding penalty, or did you just decide to come down pit road twice, see if you get some repairs?
When I came out in the stop, you can't go right down on the apron on the cold tyres, so I was probably wandering. I was in just outside the first lane, so John thought I was going to go high, but he dived for the apex, so I saw him diving and moved out of his way, but that put me way offline, so I glanced the outside wall, so I had to come straight back into the pits to try and get it fixed.
And it was some pretty intense racing out front. I'm not sure if race controller told you that it was a 250 lap race rather than a 50 lapper, but just how intense has the action been right in the thick of that pack?
It was good fun. I mean, everyone looked like it was giving everybody room. There was a few moments where I'm sure people touched wheels or side panels, but it got a bit hairy at times, but it was fun. It's racing. We're not here to just run around. I think Sean's there either saving fuel or just waiting for people to fall off the track in front of him.
Well, yeah, it looked to me like we were commenting on that. There was so much intense racing between laps 1 and 20 up front from the Team Afterburn and Aero X guys, and inevitably we started seeing what we hoped we wouldn't, which is all the guys that were in the front are now in the back. So do you think that played a part in you guys racing so hard so early?
It wasn't actually that hard. I know it looked that hard, but it's a case of if you got the run, you just held your line and took the run. I mean, if you look at it, you'll see that Sean just let everybody go. As soon as Matt came up and put his nose in, I let him go. I think the second time it just didn't happen. But Young and Tim came through the pack and again just let them go. It's that thing that once you get to the front, you're slower than the cars behind you, though it's hard not to get the run on them.
Well, have to interrupt you there, Mark. We're back to green flag racing here. We'll talk to you a little bit more. Hopefully you won't have another caution. But thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. Out front, Tim Doyle is your race leader. Sean Stroud currently set in second position. Nico Brand is in third, in fourth. Jonathan Goat is in fifth. And I'll tell you what, it looks like Random Crossner having a look down to the inside to re-continue that battle with Nico Brand as they come through turn number 3. Doyle, so far, it looks as though Tim Doyle has managed to get himself into the hot seat. And sorry, I just need to say, it looks as though Young O has brought his car down pit lane, having a look back to see what happened to him. But it looks as though on that restart, having a look back, on the back stretch, it looks as though he just parked his car. I have no idea what happened to Young O, but he's currently scored. Number 2 laps down, caution is out on the speedway. So Robert Carlson, single car incident, just spinning the car around on turn number 3, slamming it into the wall in that number 98 Coca-Cola machine. And Robert Carlson's day looks as though it's going to be over for now. So we're under our third caution of the day here at Iowa Speedway, currently working lap 82 of 250. Tim Doyle is your race leader with Sean Stroud in second, Krosno in third, Jonathan Goke in fourth, and Nico Brandt in fifth. We currently have 10 cars on the lead lap. Matthew Lambertson, Jeffrey Kohlberg, and Julian Pham, Robert Carlson, Rene Murray, Dave Jinks, and Young O are all multiple laps or multiple laps down. It does look as though Young O, for the moment, is going to be out of the race after what is a determined drive to get himself up into second position. So this is where strategy could start to come into play for a couple of these drivers. You'll have a number of pit crew chiefs on the wall trying to make some quick decisions, trying to figure out whether it's going to be a good time to come back down pit lane and top off on fuel. And one of the interesting things about this series in relation to other IndyCar series is because it's single file restarts, the drivers who are lapped down will not get sent to the back of the racing field, so they have all the opportunity in the world to try and race their way back onto the lead lap. So look out for people like Lambertson, Koolbergen especially, to try and get themselves back onto the lead lap when they have the opportunity to do so. But at the same time, that is a bit of a blessing for drivers like Tim Doyle, Sean Stroud, Randy Cosno and Jonathan Goke out front. As you see there, that young O has finally retired from the race, which is difficult thing for him. We currently have two official retirements from the race. Mark Warmington and young O are both out. Fabio Perotti is currently riding in 18th position. He is 10 laps down. Robert Carlson is currently sat down in pit lane. He is 3 laps down in the number 98 machine as he just comes out of pit lane at the moment. Keeping an eye on the pace car, it looks as though we're still going to have a good couple of laps before we go back to green flag racing. And so far, it is looking as though the keyword to describe this race is simply intensity.
Oh yes, well, it's absolutely intense. And kind of looking what we talked about earlier, you've got Sean Stroud, who was just kind of hanging back, just kind of watching what was going to happen, saving fuel, saving tires, and the patience is now paid off, and he's in second place behind Tim Doyle. Then you've got Randy Krosno, who's also racing very conservative in the back, giving people room, letting people by because it was early, and now he's sitting in third place. And Jonathan Goke, who started up front, ended up in the back. Patience, and which is good to see from Jonathan because he can be very aggressive as well, just like Matthew Lambertson. So it's good to see him make his way up through here in a manner that kind of puts him in a good position. So we'll see if he starts to get into race mode here and how that plays out for him.
And just very quickly before we go back to green flag racing, I believe we're going to have about one more lap behind the pace car by my watch. Jonathan Goke, you currently worked your way up into 4th position. Been pretty intense racing so far for you.
Yeah, it was. I made a bad decision to pit there. I just wanted to get off cycle, and then I exited the closed pit, which put me at the back. So me and Mike Larson kind of worked our way through, got back in the top 10, got that caution, took less fuel, and here I am.
And there's a couple of cars who's pinned the lap down at the moment because of the way the last caution played out, the one before this. Are you going to give a little bit of room to your teammates Lamberton and Koolbergen if they manage to get their way back up through the field to help them get their lap back?
If Jeffrey and Matt happen to come back up here, they'll have right on by to see if they can get past Tim, but I don't know if that's going to happen or not. But if they get up here, I'll be more than happy to let them go. Well, we know Jeffrey's fast.
We're getting back to green flag racing in just a moment, so we'll take you back to your friends and teammates. We'll be going back to green flag racing at the end of lap number 86 of 250 here. Round 4 of the Afterburn IndyCar Series. Pace car is in. Tim Doyle slow on that restart this time by, all the way up to the racetrack. Green flag in the air, back to racing here at Iowa.
It's going to be interesting to see with Tim Doyle. He's going to be fast in open air. We'll see how this rolls because his teammate, Young O, they depend on each other in that draft to get that extra speed, is now out of the race. So Tim Doyle doesn't have his teammates here. Sean Stroud, Randy Krosno, Jonathan Goke, Mike Larson, they're all, Matthew Lambertson, they're all still in this race. So there's some help for those teams, and Tim Doyle's kind of out there by himself. We've seen Jeffrey Koolbergen battle with him early on, so we know it's possible.
Jeffrey Koolbergen is looking as though he's going to work with a couple of drivers to try and get his way back to the field. He's managed to get past John Ailes as well as Matthew Lambertson. Lambertson is going to want to try and slide his way through the field and hope that he can get another caution after he gets past Tim Doyle. But Lambertson currently looking to try and close down Jorge Ponti and Rene Murray. Jorge Ponti currently running in 7th position. Rene Murray currently 2 laps down in 15th. But it does look as though, as you see Lambertson immediately down to the inside, he's going to make the job done on the 00. But meanwhile, it does look as though we're looking currently is the battle for the lead. Sean Stroud going down to the inside on the number 11 of Tim Doyle in the Foyt Wines car, and it looks as though Sean Stroud is going to be yet another leader just across the line. 1/1000th of a second there. Tim Doyle is still technically a race leader, but you see there, Sean Stroud is just about managed to get the job done to come back down into turn number 3. And also Randy Crosno lurking to the inside. And this is what happens if you're the lone car on the outside. You can so often get freight train as Tim Doyle trying to pinch Randy Crosno down. Crosno being a little bit cheeky there, using a bit more than lane number 1. Doyle's not going to be happy with that because he wants to try and slot back in as quickly as possible. So he's working the high side well now, as Crosno had to lose a little bit of momentum. That allows Tim Doyle to get himself back up into second.
And just what we talked about, Sean Stroud was hanging back, and we mentioned it. Now he had plenty of car and plenty of skill, so that was the thing. Is now he's out in front. He saw that all he had was Tim Doyle, and that's what he decided to do. So that looks like Tim Doyle's trying to make a move on the inside of Sean Stroud. He's going to take the lead back from Sean Stroud.
Yeah,
Sean's going to try to get some help here from his teammates. And now Sean Stroud underneath. Back and forth we go.
Yeah,
Boy,
Tim Doyle and Sean Stroud, they have had some legendary battles in these IndyCars on iRacing. Tim Doyle and Sean Stroud, I believe they finished 1 and 2 in the iRacing official IndyCar Series Championship at the Season 4 2011. And these two drivers have just swapped the lead 4 times in the space of 2 laps. They're going to make it 5 times to come down into turn number 1. This looks just like the old style of Hanford device racing you used to see at Michigan back in the day, but this is pretty much just a bull ring. I say it's 6th time in 6 corners there. Tim Doyle looking down to the inside. Sean Stroud can have another look as they come down into turn 1. Yes, he does. 7 lead changes in the space of 7 corners, and here we go again. Tim Doyle down to the inside is coming to turn number 3. I'm not sure these guys are racing or just playing games with each other.
Well, it seems, take the inside line, it makes you go to the outside of the corner, which gives the other guy the inside. So it looks like the fans are going to get their money's worth today. Lots of racing. Sean's got his teammates behind him. Now he's got 3. Mike Larson's moved his way up, so he's going to give a hand to those. Jonathan Goke is just kind of laying back, doing the same thing Sean did earlier, waiting for somebody to crash out. So they're definitely protecting the front of this race course in front of this race.
So after 4 laps of switching the lead 8 times, Sean Stroud for the moment just settles in behind Tim Doyle in 2nd position. In 3rd is Jonathan Goke. He's managed to work his way up into that position. Randy Crosno lost his position to his teammate. He's now down into 4th. Mike Larson in 5th. Nico Brandt is in 6th, with Kari Kisman in 7th. And these 7 drivers are broken away by 3 seconds to John Ailes, who's currently sat in the 8th position, with Giorgio Ponti in 9th, and that at the end, trying out your top 10. Tell you what, Matthew Lamberton is catching this group of 7 drivers, and he's wanting to try and get back with them as quickly as possible to see whether he can get himself back onto the lead lap, or he can try and get himself into position that he can at least get the wave around and hope for a quickie caution later on. But for Lamberton, he is just going to have to race like there's no tomorrow to get through this field.
Well, I think he's hoping for a caution, and the people up front are definitely going to need to pit. He was a late pitter on the last one, so I have a feeling he's obviously going to hope for some kind of caution, so they'll go in and he'll stay out just to get his lap back, if nothing else.
Mike Larson making a move down to the inside of Randy Crosno. That is the battle for 4th position. Look as though Nico Brandt is going to try and slot down on the inside as well. Matthew Lamberton moving to the high side, seeing whether he can almost, he's not going to see if he can go 3 wide, surely not. But it looks as though he's going to go down to the outside of Nico Brandt. He's looking as though he's making that high side work really well. He's closing right up to the back of Randy Crosno. Surely he is not going to try and go 3 wide. He's looking for the gap. Not going to happen is to go into the corner. But look as though, how
don't do
hard
it,
he is racing down to the inside. Is he going to try and get down the inside of Nico Brandt? Not just yet. Lamberton, just pick him off 1 at a time. 3 wide is not the way to go at this racetrack.
Oh, Matthew Lamberton. Well, he's looking for anything. He looks to me like you give him 18 inches, and he's going to stretch that out. So let's hope they don't go 3 wide up here. I think that would be catastrophic.
So he's looked down, he's down to the inside now of Randy Crosland, almost just touching, I think, the back, just so gently of Nico Bryant, getting himself a little bit squirty. It looks as though he's definitely on the charge. He's got past Randy Crosland this time. Will he be able to go down to the inside of Nico Bryant as he comes into turn number 3? Looks as though he's going to be able to get the pass done finally, so he can continue on his charge. Again, getting a bit squirty off turn number 4. Now that's going to allow Nico Bryant to make the move back down to the inside, holding it down low there. You see him right on the line of the second groove. That is about the boundary of how far you can go low into turn number 1 if you're on the outside. But Lamberton is just not giving up here. Currently 11th position, 1 lap down. Again, almost collecting. As you see there, he's had to back up the throttle just a little bit. So Randy Crosland gets by him again. Lamberton's been rear-ended by Kerry Kisman. Both of them into the wall. And, caution out for the 4th time there. And Lamberton and Kisman both into the wall there. Caution out on lap 110.
Oh, it looks like Matthew Lamberton had a big checkup right there when he came out from behind Randy Crosno. And Kerry Kisman did not have a lot of time to slow down. That's unfortunate. Boy, but Matthew's just, wow. He's definitely something fun to watch.
So both these cars are going to try and get themselves back down into pit lane. Looks as though Lamberton's going to try, he's going to enter a closed pit, so he's going to have to go to the rear end of the field on the next restart. Kerry Kisman stays out. She knows. Keep on saying she. She's the only female racer in this field today. She knows that if she can stay out and try and get some repairs once pit lane opens, she will be able to at least stay in the top 10 for the time being. As we'll keep an eye on pit road, we have a feeling that all cars are going to pretty much come down. As you see there, Tim Dole leading the field in with Sean Stroud right behind him, John 3rd, Mike Larson in 4th, Nico Bryant 5th, and Randy Crosno in 6th. We'll keep an eye on the exit of pit lane to see who will get out first.
Well, is Jeffrey Kuhlbergen going to stay out? I was looking for this replay, and definitely Matthew Lamberton went from 179 miles an hour down to 154 miles an hour. He had big checkup. So Kerry Kisman had no choice but to no time to react at all.
Sean Stroud just wins the race off pit load there from Tim Doyle. Just it looks like Randy Crosno managed to get out ahead of Nico Bryant as well. So on the race off pit road, pretty much 2 wide all the way down, Sean Stroud just inching ahead of Tim Doyle. Jonathan Goke will get out in 3rd position, Mike Larson in 4th, with Randy Crosno in 5th and Nico Bryant in 6th.
Looks like the strategy worked for Jeffrey Kuhlbergen, keeping his cool, staying behind, not getting caught up in that wreck. It looks like he's got his lap back, and he is now slotted on the lead lap along with Julian Pham. That's going to work out really well for Jeffrey Kuhlbergen. We'll see if he can make his way back up through the pack.
So a couple of drivers have stayed out under this caution. Julian Pham with Dave Jinks and Jeffrey Kuhlbergen all stayed out. They're going to get the wave around as the pace car lights will go off and we'll get the 1 to green. Sean Stroud will be your race leader. Jonathan Goke in 2nd, Mike Larson in 3rd. I tell you what though, it looks as though Tim Doyle either came back down pit lane or he got himself a speeding penalty. Just having a look what happened.
I'll bet you it's a speeding penalty. Got a little overzealous between him and Sean Stroud trying to come off that pit lane, and so he's going to have to come back up through the pack again. Of course, we know that he has the ability to do so, but it's going to be very interesting.
Just having a look back to see if anything happened, and it did look as though he was on the throttle just a tiny bit too early, and he might have got himself he looks like he got himself a penalty there. So he's done the smart thing, come down back into pit lane to re-top off on race gas, and we're not talking about much here, but he's going to hope that these couple of extra laps will prove to be in his favour later on. That is a smart thinking of Tim Doyle, knowing he's got himself an EOL penalty for speeding in pit lane, and he tries to make the very best of it he can, but once again he's going to have to come back through the field.
Well, and I think he's probably trying to play the strategy of getting himself to the end of the line, so as soon as they go green, he'll come back around and pit immediately in hopes of only losing one lap, and then hopefully he'll hope for a green flag pit stop, which will put him again back on the lead lap. So this is going to be interesting. This has been a great race as far as different strategies, people racing, people hanging back. Still have plenty of race to go, so we're going to find out who's, ultimately whose strategy is going to work out. Sean Stroud, I guess, got tired of hanging back, so he's going to be up front. Jonathan Goke, another person who doesn't do well in second place, so we're going to see how that plays out, whether we're going to start seeing some racing going on up front once again.
Yeah, and if you want to know how fast Tim Doyle was in pit lane, just 4 miles an hour. He let off the pit lane speed limit literally about a foot too early, but the acceleration of these cars completely ruined his chance of taking the race lead back. Pace car is in. Sean Stroud in the number 21 virtualized.net machine, bringing the field back to green flag racing as we complete lap 115 of 250.
It's going to be interesting to see what Mike Larson does now that he's recovered from that spin we saw earlier in the race, and he's got himself back up in third place. So he's going to be looking at he's going to be pretty hungry looking at the fin back rear wing there of Jonathan Goke. So he's definitely going to be chasing him down. We'll see what happens with that.
3 wide down the inside. So Matthew Lamberton going 3 wide again as they come down to turn number 3 with Rene Murray and Giorgio Ponti. It looks as though there's no room between these drivers. Matthew Lamberton is going to have to be very careful as come down to turn number 1. He manages to get himself around Rene Murray, holding the inside line down as we've got smoke down on the backstretch. Looks as though we're fine for the moment. Giorgio Ponti kicked him, and Matthew Lamberton manages to clear him beautifully as they come out of turn number 4. But I tell you what, Lamberton is on a charge, and right behind him, Tim Doyle in the number 11. His caution is back out.
Oh, Matthew Lamberton is insane.
I believe that was Fabio in the number 18 Italia racing machine, just getting loose on the seam of turn number 1. Car spinning around on him into the wall, manages to drive it back around, and then again the next lap back into the wall again. Caution is out. And if there's anyone who wanted that caution, it was going to be Jeffrey Kohlbergen. And he's now going to be able to top off, stay himself on the lead lap. And he is going to now be one of those drivers who's back in a shot of winning this race, as we have 12 cars currently on the lead lap.
Yeah, and it looks like for Jeffrey, a series of events that worked out in his favor. He's got to be really happy right now. So he needs to take a deep breath, tighten the belts up, and he's got some work to do, but we've seen Jeffrey in the past, and he can absolutely get it done.
So Doyle, we're pretty much approaching the halfway distance of this race. Sean Stroud, though, is currently in the driving seat as we head off into the second part.
That's not unusual for Sean. It's what we probably expected to see earlier when he was kind of just laying back and seeing how the race would unfold. And I think then you have Tim Doyle is back there in 8th place. Judging from the field that he's going to have to go through, Giorgio Ponti, John Ailes, Nico Brandt, I anticipate we're going to see Tim Doyle knocking on the door of 5th place probably within the first 5 to 6 laps after this we go green one more time. So battle for up front is far from over, and then you've got Jeffrey Kohlbergen as kind of like a wild card coming up through there. Matthew Lamberton continues to have fun with the other drivers, as it were, with his aggressive nature, so that's definitely going to add a little spice to the stew.
So pit road is open. Have a look, see how many takes we're going to have this time. Down pit road, Dave Dinks comes in, Carrie Kisman comes into pit lane, as well as, I believe, just one other driver. I'm trying to have a look back to see who that is, though. Carrie Kisman and Dave Dinks both down his pit lane, as well as Fabio Pittoli in the number 18, who caused that large caution. But some of these drivers now, they know just how well their car's going to handle. We've had pretty much half the race distance done. someone like Tim Doyle, you know, being sat in 8th position isn't going to be too much of a disadvantage. But there's one driver who we still need to keep a very close eye on, and that is the number 19 Boy Scouts of America car of Matthew Lambertson, because he's been flying, but he's been ultra aggressive, trying to get his lap back, as he's been pinned a lap down now for pretty much the last 60 laps.
Yeah, and we'll see what happens with him, because with Matthew, I think it's pretty much either going to be he's going to be up front or he's going to be wadded up in a ball on the backstretch. It's like no holds barred. He's not leaving anything on the track, so he's going to go for it. And as you predicted, we have Jeffrey Koolbergen taking advantage of this. He's going to come down and pit, get a little fuel, get some tires, get ready to make the charge.
So if you're Matthew Lambertson, he really has just got to try and get himself in to the top 5 and then hope that friends and teammates will just allow him to get himself back towards the front. But at the same time, if you're any of these drivers, knowing how fast and aggressive Lambertson's been, you're not going to necessarily want to have him back on the lead lap, because the next time you'll see him will be the time when he's fighting for the lead.
Oh, absolutely. That's, you know, for me, when you saw some of the battles going on early on, it would seem that people were kind of freaked out by the way he was driving, and they were giving him a wide berth and some room, and that may be the psychological game that he's playing in the race car. Unfortunately, that's a pretty big gamble when you roll the dice, and I agree. I don't think anybody wants to see Matthew Lambertson in the rearview mirror, because he won't stay there long.
So as we'll go back to green flag racing, we're going to be following for about a lap or so Jeffrey Koolbergen in the number 79 Aerox racing machine. The driver who started this race in 3rd position, led for a couple of laps, not for a couple of laps, for a good number of laps even. So as he's trying to come through the field, myself and Doyle will shut up for about a minute or so, and you can enjoy the in-car sounds of Jeffrey Koolbergen. As you see, the pace car is down into pit road. Sean Stroud brings the field back to green flag racing. So Sean Stroud is still your race leader in the number 21 Virtualized.net Team Afterburn machine. He is currently being hounded down by Jonathan Goke in 2nd position in the Purple Fury car, as we are over halfway in now to round 4 of the Afterburn IndyCar Series, presented by Glacier TV. Will Vincent and Doyle Johnson in the booth. And I tell you what, we're looking at, sorry, just very quickly. Oh, no, Tim Doyle just gets collected there by Matthew Lambertson spinning as he tries to get around John Ailes. That is going to give another caution on this speedway. And Tim Doyle has got himself just a little bit of front wing damage. Heartbreak there for Lambertson, as he's been working so hard to try and get through this field. His car is now completely done. And for Tim Doyle, currently sat in 6th position, he is now going to have to get himself a brand new front wing.
Well, just like we talked about, Matthew Lambertson is either going to be up front or in the wall. It's checkers or wreckers for Matthew. So I don't know. His car doesn't look as bad as it might have been, and definitely Tim Doyle, I think, dodged a bullet. He might only have front wing damage there. So he'll get around the pits and he'll get back in, but Matthew Lambertson has definitely done serious suspension damage.
And we're going to bring back in 2nd place driver Jonathan Goke just for a moment. Jonathan, this has really got to be ruining some drivers' momentum, as I believe that you're coming down to pit lane at the moment. You're going to try and beat Sean Stroud out this time, I guess.
Yeah, I probably won't, but it'd be nice to lead the lap.
Well, and we've watched you race a lot. It's second place for you, and this early in the race, but you've got to be feeling it. Taking a look at how Sean's driving, looking for a mistake to take advantage of throughout this race, because you definitely have enough race car. Oh, nice job.
Well, there we go, guys.
And Jonathan Oak does indeed beat Sean Stroud out of the pits. So now you do it the easy way.
This is going to be very interesting. We'll bring Sean Stroud into the commentary booth for just a moment. Sean, you're on live TV, so please don't swear. But how do you feel about Goki just beating you out of pit lane that time?
Well, he's extremely lucky because the pit exit was closed. That's why I was waiting. And it opened just as he hit the line.
So, very lucky for Goke, but it puts you back in second position, but you've been pretty dominant the second, third of this race. I'm guessing for you, it would just be a case of try and get back out front and run away and hide from some of your competition.
Yeah, I've just been cruising most of the race, saving a bit of fuel, and now it's time to get up to the front in the last half of the race.
And very quickly, that battle with Tim Doyle earlier on, by our count, it was 9 overtakes in 4.5 laps. Were you two just playing mind games with each other?
That was good fun. Always have a good race with Tim.
Well, I'll send you back upstairs to be with your friends. Jonathan Goke, any last thoughts before you go back upstairs?
Not really. Just looks like we got about eight or seven drivers in front of us who didn't pit, so we'll see if me and Sean can make it through there as teammates. We got Tim Doyle behind us. You know how that's going to go over.
So stay safe, don't race too hard, and bring that Purple Fury car back home in one piece, and good luck to you.
Thanks, Will. Thanks, Doyle. Good job.
So it looks like we're going to have 2 laps to go before we go back to Green Flag Racing. To reset the field for you, we have a new race leader in Mike Larson, Randy Crosno in second, Nico Brandt in third, Rene Murray in fourth, and the Ench. So Rene Murray is 14th actually. He's just a number of laps down. Danny Ench is in fourth, Kerry Kisman in fifth, Jeffrey Kohlbergen in sixth, and then Giorgio Ponti in seventh, Jonathan Goke in eighth, Sean Stroud in ninth, and Tim Doyle rounds out your top 10. And we've got 12 drivers currently on the lead lap.
And right now, I think Mike Larson, once again, he was one of the first people to fall victim to the end around on turn 1. So he's probably pretty happy right now to be up front, lead a few laps. And then once again, you've got Randy Crosno, the ever omnipresent Randy Crosno, who just kind of always patient, never really aggressive, but yet because of that, he's finding himself consistently in the top 5, top 6 on these restarts. So he's got to be feeling pretty good about the way he's run his race as well.
So the lights are out on the pace car. We're going to go back to Green Flag Racing at the end of lap number 133 of 250 here at Iowa Speedway. So of this race so far, we had ourselves a caution earlier on, then a nice green flag run, which put some drivers a lap down just as the caution came out, as a couple of drivers were about to come down into pit lane. Drivers like Tim Doyle and Sean Stroud literally entering pit lane on fumes. So as we go back to Green Flag Racing, hopefully things will settle down for a little while. Mike Larson will bring the field back. Keep an eye out though on Goke, Stroud and Doyle. They're going to try and want to make their way through the field, as well as Kohlberg and Kisman, especially. Green flag in the air. Mike Larson getting a little bit squirrely as he comes down. We're back to racing one more time here at Iowa.
Yeah, and Jeffrey being in a good position, he started out the last restart at position 12. He's made it up to 6. So once again, I think he's a car that you're going to have and a driver you're going to have to keep an eye on, because I think now the excitement's down a little bit and he's going to be a little more patient. But I definitely believe you're going to see Jeffrey Kohlbergen in the top 5 shortly.
And this is one of the issues when you've got cars that are a little bit slow with these single file restarts. See Kohlbergen looking to almost make it 3 wide to come down past the start finish line. Kisman overtaking Dan the Ench on the high side. Kohlberger not going to bring it down all the way down to the second groove, but it looks like he's going to be able to get the job done on the high side as well. Going to be able to swoop back in as they come into turn number 3. But with some of these slower cars, it really means that you have to be so quick into adapting. As
we got a caution. We got a caution.
And as I was saying that, it does seem that, once again, Fabio Pitoli is into the wall. So, what has been, for so many times, a pretty clean series, this race so far looks as though it is really claiming its fair share of drivers.
Oh no! It looks like Fabio if he wasn't actually the spin. It was Robert Carlson, it looks like, in the 98 machine who actually spun, and Fabio actually was unable to avoid him and hit him in the front.
Just clipped him there in the number 18. But Robert Carlson, he was very strong for the first half of the Homestead race, and then faded in the second part of it. And it looks as though, again, that might be the same situation here. Maybe he's not used to the length of races we see in the Afterburn IndyCar series. And one of those things as well is having a couple of cautions, one after the other, does mean that some of these drivers just forget the tiniest little bit about how their car behaves over different stages of fuel run. Particularly if they've been, on slightly worn tyres, it's very difficult to readapt to the anti-roll bar and weight jacket settings you sometimes need.
Yeah, I mean, it looks to me like, looking from that car, that Robert Carlson could be done. He's got some serious suspension damage. I don't know if his pit crew is going to be able to get that car back on the road. And Fabio, who's currently logged as 15 laps down, just trying to get on the track and trying to run some laps, is just having no luck today whatsoever.
So, Mike Larson is your leader, Randy Crosno second, Nico Brandt third, Kari Kisman in her first race in the Afterburn IndyCar series, running the pink Cancer colours, is in fourth. Jeffrey Kohlberg in fifth, Jonathan Goke in sixth, Sean Stroud seventh, Tim Doll in eighth, with Julian Farm coming down pit lane. He was scored in ninth position. He's dropping back as he comes down into pit lane. Still got 12 cars on the lead lap.
Yeah, and as we talked about earlier, and I mentioned, Jeffrey Kohlberg, and look out, top 5 for this next restart. So he's managed his way to make his way up front, and surprisingly enough, along with all the carnage and everything that's gone on, and changes, Nico Brandt, another one who's kind of just snuck up from the middle of the pack, and we'll see what happens between him and Randy for that second place spot. That's going to be kind of interesting.
Oh yeah, definitely. And one of the issues that we talked about earlier on is how, because of these single file restarts, one of the benefit is that drivers can work to get themselves back onto the lead lap. However, the slower cars aren't sent to the end of the longest line until there's only 10 laps to go in the race. So that means that some of these faster drivers are having to maneuver their way through slower traffic at the start of runs, which just simply means that they're almost running over the back of some of these drivers.
Well, and that's one of the challenges that you face, and we've seen it a couple times now, where they've almost gone 3 wide when they get around those other drivers because they think they've got a spot and they're so much faster. Fortunately, most people have thought better of it, but you're absolutely right. That definitely adds a challenge to the race course and to the race itself, because getting through the lap traffic in here can be very problematic if you get loose or get too high in the wall.
And as a driver who races quite often in the iRacing IndyCar series, how important is it to try and get back into the groove on these restarts to ensure, that you can get yourself back into position, not to have too many issues, but at the same time not overdrive the car too early, too quickly, to almost put yourself into an incident where you can ruin your race.
It's extremely important, especially on these single file restarts. You want to find your place. You want to get into where you can run your line and run your race, get settled in, and then take a look and survey what's going on in front of you and hopefully nothing's going on behind you that's going to affect you. But you really don't want to spend the first 2 laps of this of a restart in the high line or out of the groove or out of your position, because then it's just a constant struggle, and you can definitely get freight trained, as they say, and all kinds of things. So it's real important to get down in, find your groove, and then start running your race.
So the pace car will back in at the end of lap number 142. Green flag in the air. Mike Larson brings the field back to green flag racing. Come on, guys, let's get ourselves a nice green flag run this time. And just as I say that, Kuhlberg looking down to the inside of Jonathan Goke. Will Jonathan Goke just keep it calm and steady for a little bit? Nope. He's running that high side. He's not going to let...
Almost get into each other.
Yeah, he was saying he wasn't going to let Kuhlberg have the position. And no, spinning round.
No.
Keep it off the racetrack, Kuhlberg, and let's stay green for at least one more lap.
Oh, it doesn't look like he took much damage, but definitely causing the caution to come out. Jeffrey Kuhlberg got, like we talked about, got a little aggressive right on the start there. Cold tires, probably not the best decision that he's ever made, especially since he's battled so hard to get back up to the top 5.
It's a heartbreak for Kuhlberg in there, and to take a word from NASCAR, who's currently under the rain delay, cautions breed cautions. So yeah.
Well, and like you mentioned earlier, I think team leader Randy Krausos might want to look at the replay and probably drag these 2 in by the scruff of the neck and, what are you guys doing? Because teammates taking each other out in the race is definitely something that is a hazard that you don't want to have. Jonathan, go ahead down pit lane. Looks like Tim Doyle as well.
So with 106 laps left of this race, I know that me saying that is going to cause some people to hit their head against the desk. But with 106 laps left in this race, some of these drivers now are going to put just have a look to see whether or not they can fill themselves up so they can get themselves to within about 50 laps of the end, so that they only need to make one more pit stop. But for some of these drivers, Jeffrey Kuhlberg coming out of pit lane, they are literally now probably going to start getting really tired, because they don't want to have this race go on for so much longer. But at the same time, we're at 1 hour 14 minutes into this race. We've probably still got ourselves a good 45 minutes worth of racing if we stay green. Some of these drivers actually probably do want it to stay green now, because otherwise we just have to continue talking incoherently. And Doyle, we all know that we're very good at doing that. So, Jeffrey Kuhlberg, horrible moment for you there. Looked as though you were going to keep it off the racetrack and just keep the racetrack green. But just as you try bringing it back up to speed, the caution flag must be heartbreak for you after what had been a really good race so far.
Hi Will, yeah indeed, didn't expect that. Fortunate I did not hit anybody or the wall. So I'm still good to go. I think it's still a long race, and yeah, let's see where it brings me from now.
And we've been watching you for... Go ahead, Will.
Yeah, you go ahead for once. We've still got a lap till we go green.
Jeffrey, we were kind of watching your progress from up front where you were leading the laps at the beginning of the race. You were kind of fighting it out there, and then back to the back of the pack where you eventually got your lap back and then made it all the way up to the 5th position. So you've been charging pretty hard and had a pretty good race, and then you get alongside your teammate there, Jonathan Goke, and just somehow managed to get a little loose there. So do you think, what's your strategy going to be to get back up to the front of the pack before the race is over?
Well, I'm going to try to race again to the front pack, and hopefully we get some green flags going on to achieve the goal. But then again, it's still a long race, so yeah, be a little bit conservative, but with some racing instinct.
And please, can you do me a favour and tell all the drivers on the racetrack to just calm down for at least 5 laps so we can start getting a green flag run going? or as Joni saying in the background, if he gave you a shotgun, would you mind shooting the next guy who causes a caution? Either one probably works.
Sounds good.
Alright, we'll send you back upstairs, but good luck for the rest of this race, and hopefully you'll be able to claw your way back to the field and keep that number 79 Aero X machine looking pretty.
Sounds good, and thanks for having me.
And I think he's got a good shot, because if he's in good company, he's in the 10th position right behind Tim Doyle. So we're expecting Tim Doyle to obviously try to charge through. So Jeffrey may be able to latch on to his rear wing and kind of follow him up through the pack.
So we're going to restart this race with 101 laps left to go. Mike Larson, your leader, Randy Crosnay second, Nico Brandt in third, Kari Kisman in fourth, Sean Stroud in fifth. We've got 12 drivers on the lead lap. We've got one driver 1 lap down, one driver 2 laps down. Robert Carlson is in 15th, 6 laps down. Pace car makes that sharp left turn once again down pit road. This time Mike Larson doesn't spin the tyres, gets himself a nice start. We're back one more time to green flag racing.
I think it's going to be interesting to see what Sean Stroud does. All the way back in 5th position right now. That's not sitting well with him, even though I know he's still going to ride. So we're going to see if he can work his way back up front as well.
So 100 lap left to go here at Iowa Speedway. Looks as though Kari Kisman's making a move down to the inside. He manages to put another lap on Rene Murray. Rene Murray having to run all the way up on the outside wall there to give drivers a little bit of room. As you see, Dan Dient is under attack from a couple of drivers. Jonathan Goke-Spinto managed to keep it on the racetrack for the time being, as I believe that's Tim Doyle taking the long road there down the front straightaway, getting it back onto track. We stay green as Tim Doyle gets spun around. Yoni is going to have to give a shotgun to someone. Just having a look back at that, it looked as though Tim Doyle comes down the inside and Jonathan Goke spins it round by himself just as Tim Doyle gets down to the inside line coming out of the corner. He takes the very long way down onto the grass, getting it all the way down on that second lane that I have no idea what it's used for. And as he comes back onto the racetrack, it looks as though he just gets rear-ended. I think the driver trying to get around him didn't realise just how slowly he'd be going.
Well, that was an extremely unsafe track entrance by Tim Doyle. He did not pay any attention to the fact there was other cars on the road. He should not have entered the track like that, so definitely no fault of the car coming behind him. It looks like he spun around and he's just back at it again, so that was a very unfortunate there.
So John Ailes is down pit lane to get himself a new front wing. Jonathan Goke down pit lane. And Kari Kisman down pit lane. And Doc, this track, it's... How can we have run so many clean laps at the start of this race, but now, all of a sudden, drivers can't seem to go more than 5 laps without deciding to spin around or crash into each other or do something else?
I think there's a lot to that. I think they're probably getting a little fatigued right about now. A little excited because the race is coming to an end. But I think what you also see is you have a lot of fast cars, people like Tim Doyle and Jonathan Goke and Jeffrey Kuhlberg, back further in the pack than they want to be at this stage of the race. So they're starting to get a little more aggressive, and making their way through lap traffic is probably being a little bit irritating for them. So, they're starting to lose their focus, I think, and hopefully we can see them get it back here before we continue the caution. The second half of this race has been kind of full of crashing, and spinning especially. So let's hope they can hold on to it.
So these drivers, they just need to chill out for a couple of laps, get themselves into a rhythm, let the tyre pressures build up, and having so many cautions, these tyre pressures must be, as low as you humanly possibly can go. So is it just a case of sort themselves out for a couple of laps?
I think so. I think everybody needs to take a deep breath, hold their position, get control of their race car, let the car settle in, and then start the passing. Because everybody knows they can. We've seen it a million times. Somebody gets a little high in the corner, or you just hold your low line and you can get by people. So, again, I think these faster racers in the back just need to settle down a little bit, and more like what we saw for the first half of the race, where they were being patient getting by people. We're not seeing that patience now.
Goke, we didn't want to talk to you under bad circumstances, but you just seemed to lose your car a little bit and ended up getting into Tim Doyle a little bit.
Yep, I was too low, holding up, just cranking the wheel, and just lost it. Tim's car actually saved mine a little bit, and was able to repair my damage, so we're going to try it again.
And for the love of God, you guys managed to get yourself racing so well earlier on, but what is it in the second half of the race that means that drivers are having so many issues on this racetrack with spinning or collecting each other? Is it fatigue? Is it concentration snapping? Or explain.
I just think it's going green, yellow, green, yellow. It is messing with our concentration, and we're down in the last 100, so we want to get ourselves in good position so we can be ready to pounce in the last coming laps to the checkers.
Oh, do a favour and tell everyone that we want to see a nice long green flag run to end this race. Yoni said the next person that calls the caution will have some of a shotgun pellet or something, so use that as a warning if you wish.
Well, we can always start issuing black flags.
So all I know is that there's a caution in front of me, say, the front 6 cars wrecked, that puts me in the lead. That's a caution I wouldn't mind.
I mean, we'll spend the last 90 laps watching you drive around by yourself. No worries, John. We'll send you back upstairs, but you have a nice part of the race.
Yeah, thanks, guys. And I'm just joking.
See you in a bit. So yes, we are going slightly senile here in the booth. We're currently working lap 157 of 250 here at Iowa Speedway. Will Vincent, Doyle Johnson in the booth. And these drivers surely now are going to get themselves back into some form of a rhythm. Pace car pulls in. Mike Larson brings the field back to green flag racing. Almost spins those tyres a little bit again, but managed to get away with it. Green flag in the air. Nico Brandt in third. With Randy Crosland in second, Mike Clarkson your leader, and it looks as though for once his field's going to spread out a little bit, but we have got Stanley Ench running in the 5th position with Jeffrey Kohlbergen in 6th. Tim Doyle working the outside line around Jonathan Goke. Hopefully these two won't get into contact again. Looks as though Goke just pulled out the throttle a little bit to let Tim go by, but now his next target is going to be that of the number 79 machine of Jeffrey Kohlbergen, and it looks at the moment that we've got ourselves at least 2 laps done under green.
And Jeffrey Kohlberg looking on the inside of Dan Liench, and he's not quite able to make it stick this time, but he's definitely in the chase. They're going to try to get around him. There he goes, taking the inside line.
But again, it looks like he's got the speed down the straightaways, and that's what's making life so hard for Kohlbergen, as it means that he's being forced down to the inside line, and Tim Doyle trying to make it 3 wide. Not going to happen this time by. Tim Doyle is bunching himself up. He's going to drive right down to the inside of the track, as he's going to try now to get himself around Jonathan Goke was looking down to the inside of Tim Doyle. They both have purple cars, which makes it slightly confusing. But Tim Doyle down to the inside of Jeffrey Kohlbergen. He gives the position up, and it looks like he's going to slot in just perfectly behind. But he's got Jonathan Goke looking down to the inside. Looks as if to get away with that one just for the moment. But it looks as though finally we're back to some form of green flag racing. But out front, we've got Nico Brandt on the inside, on the outside, Sean Stroud on the inside. That is about for 3rd position, as Sean Stroud trying to make his way back through the field.
Yeah, and I think on that last exchange you saw Dan Liencher. I don't know if I'd want to be him or not. I think he just flat freaked out with all that stuff going on there and just took himself right up the top and got out of the way before he became a pile of rubble. That was just something else. That up front like that was probably not really where he wanted to be.
So Sean Stroud makes a move on Randy Crosney, gets himself up into second position. Nico Brand decided to see whether he can have a look down to the inside, lost a little bit of momentum. That allowed Randy Crosney to keep third position. But now Sean Stroud is going to be having a look down towards Mike Larson. This will be the battle for the lead. Sean Stroud looking to try and get himself back out front here at Iowa, as Mike Larson's led for the last 30 laps or so in the midst of all these cautions. But Sean Stroud now definitely on the charge.
And Nico Brandt and Randy Crosnell's definitely battling it out. Randy's going to maintain position for now, but Nico's looking on the inside. Looks like he's going to try to make the pass right here. There he is. He makes it stick.
Mike Larson is having to defend heavily from Sean Stroud there, as Randy Crosney is trying to have a look to see whether he can make the move back onto Nico Brandt. As you see, right onto the rear wing now comes Sean Stroud on the number 72 Carlsberg machine of Mike Larson. They come through turn number 2 on lap 168 of 250. Sean Stroud doesn't look as though he's close enough. We had the speed earlier on to literally just drive past drivers. As he looks down to the inside as they come past the start-finish line, thought better off it, just ducked back into the draft this time by. Is he just staying behind for the moment and saving his tyres?
Oh, absolutely. I think he's just playing around right now, looking for the right opportunity.
It could come this time by.
And yeah, you got Rene Murray. This interesting fact that he's seeing a bunch of stuff in his rearview mirror that he does not want to see. It's full of Tim Doyle. And there he goes. Tim Doyle's going to try to make the pass this next time. So,
you got Tim Doyle, Jeffrey Kohlberg, and Jonathan Goke separated by less than 1 second. So for Rene Murray, he's going to have to stay right out of the way as Tim Doyle comes past. Immediately afterwards, you're going to have Jeffrey Kohlberg comes down to the inside as they come down the back straightaway. Kohlberg doesn't look as though he's going to be able to make the move just yet, as Rene Murray, as Kohlberg comes all the way up the racetrack there. It looks as though that Rene Murray can stay with the back of Tim Doyle, but it just looks as though he's lacking a little bit of straight line speed when he is by himself.
Absolutely. He's definitely trying to hold on for all he's worth. I don't think he's going to be able to hold off Jeffrey Kohlberg much longer, and then he's going to have Jonathan Goke next.
Almost turned into Jeffrey Kohlberg there in the number 79. Very good observational awareness to just move to the middle lane there. He lets Kohlberg go past, and Jonathan Goke is going to be the next person to come down to the inside. Kohlberg gets ever so slightly squirrely to come out of turn number 4. This is out of field to almost collecting Rene Murray there. As you see, Jonathan Goke now looking down to the inside, seeing whether he can make the pass on Jeffrey Kohlberg. Side by side as they come through turn number 4. And it looks as though Jonathan Goke is going to be able to retake 6th position as they come past the start-finish line. Rene Murray almost making it 3 wide once again here. So, Rene Murray has managed to let both Jonathan Goke and Jeffrey Kohlberg continue to fight amongst them, but he's looking down to the inside. I'm not sure if Rene Murray realises he's 2 laps down as he tries to overtake Kohlberg once again. Kohlberg is saying all sorts of things over the radio, probably trying to just say to Murray, look, I'm in a battle here for 6th position, you are 2 laps down, and it looks as though Murray just backed out of the throttle a little bit there to let those two get away. But the thing is that Murray is coming under attack from Dave Jinks, who's also wanting to put him a lap down. So out front, however, Sean Stroud is now your race leader. He's managed to get himself around Mike Larson in the battle for 1st position. Nico is currently sat in the 3rd position. Randy Crosnell dropped back a little bit, and he's managed to, Tim Doyle's managed to get around him up into 4th. So Randy Crosnell down into 5th. Jonathan Goke into 6th position, with Jeffrey Kohlberg behind him in 7th. Kari Kisman has dropped back into the 8th slot after riding as high as 3rd earlier on in this race. And that number 20, breast cancer awareness machine is really having to try to work her very hardest to get close to this pack and get the draft to find some more speed. We're currently looking on board with Tim Doyle in the number 11 Foyt Wines machine. He is caught up to this lead 3 cars of Sean Stroud, Mike Larson and Nico Brandt. So Tim Doyle once again is going to be in a position where he can go hand over fist with Sean Stroud, as we saw earlier on. those two drivers managed to do 9 overtaking manoeuvres in the space of 4.5 laps. So yes, that is pretty much one a corner between Doyle and Sean Stroud. So do not expect this race to be over by any form of anything at all. Tim Doyle has closed that gap dramatically in the last couple of laps. 17.8 lap last time by. He is now looking down to the inside of Nico Brandt as they come past the start-finish line. Doesn't think he's going to be able to make it this time by. Makes a dive to the inside. He's going to be able to get down to the inside of that number 24 machine of Nico Brandt. As they come down the back straightaway, it looks as though Tim Doyle is going to be able to get himself up into 3rd position. Next two targets, Mike Larson and Sean Stroud. Meanwhile, Rand Krosno is just staying back there in the number 4 racing machine. He is currently sat in 5th position. It looks as though he's not going to be trying to make too much of an impression on this group for the moment. Save his tyres if he can. I see Tim Doyle really harassing Mike Larson there, looking down to the inside, not happening, but literally trying to go high, go low. And Mike Larson using just the middle of the racetrack there. He's going to be very careful so that he doesn't get himself a black flag for blocking. But Tim Doyle is putting a lot of pressure onto Mike Larson, in some ways protecting his teammate Sean Stroud for the moment, as both of these drivers know just how strong Tim Doyle is. As again, he's looking down to the inside. It looks as though he's going to be able to get down, get a nose in as they come down into turn number 1. Mike Larson's going to go backwards into possibly 4th position now, as Nico Brandt also gets a nose inside coming down into turn number 3. But that allows Tim Doyle to get himself into 2nd position, and we are back to Sean Stroud, Tim Doyle, 1 and 2 in this race, and this is now going to get really, really interesting. So Doyle Johnson just has to step away for a moment, so I'm left all by myself in the commentary booth, working lap 189 of 250. Tim Doyle looking down to the inside to come into turn number 3. He's going to get the lead from Sean Stroud. Are we going to have a repeat of what we saw earlier on? Well, these two just exceed. Yes, we are. Once again, Sean Stroud down to the inside into turn number 1. This is IndyCar racing at its very best. If you ever watched kart back in the late 90s, when you could just see how the Hanford device worked, this is just the way these two have been racing every time they've been out front together. You see, Tim Doyle back to the inside, as Sean Stroud managed to get the lead back last lap. This time by Tim Doyle down to the inside, and now once again Sean Stroud doing the crossover down into turn number 3. The only negative thing is here, Tim Doyle is not going to be scored of all these laps the way that is going. So Sean Stroud is your leader. And you see Nico Brandt having a look down to the inside to come out of turn number 2. Not going to happen. Tim Doyle here going to be hunting down Sean Stroud again in the battle for the lead. That number 21 Virtual R machine and the number 11 Voigt Wines car of Tim Doyle are just going at it like no one other. And these two really are some of the best racers on the iRacing service. As I said earlier, Sean Stroud, last season's winner in the iRacing Official Championship. Tim Doyle, winner of the 2011 Indianapolis 500 and also previous winner of the iRacing Oval Championship. So these two really are the top of the game, as good as they come in the IndyCar. And you can just see the quality of the racing between these two, as Nico Brandt is now just a couple of car lengths back. He'll be waiting for an opportunity by either of these two. And Mike Larson's fallen back to a further 4 car lengths behind. We have smoke on the racetrack, as look as though we're going to stay green for the moment, as Kari Kisman has come down into pit lane. She is now into the 12th position and is going to put herself probably 2 laps down. So at some point we are going to have to come up and breathe for air here. As Tim Doyle once again looks to the inside as they come off corner number 4. It looks like he's going to definitely get the run as they come into turn number 1. Sean Stroud going to yet again give him the position. Tim Doyle is going to take the lead back of this race. And again, Sean Stroud right back down to the inside as they come into turn number 3. All of this time, Sean Stroud must be realising that the way this is going for him, he's still the one leading laps And obviously, although overtakes count, it's only the person who leads the lap that gets classified of the overtaking maneuver, and obviously 2 bonus points on offer for the person who leads the most laps. As Sean Stroud, they're almost collecting Nico Brandt. Nico Brandt having to get off the gas a little bit as he was attacking Sean Stroud for 2nd position. This just gives a little bit of breathing space for Tim Doyle for just a second, and Tim Doyle, who just vanished from our screens completely, comes back in finally there. But please don't have connection issues play drivers like they did in the last race at Mossport. But at the same time, Jonathan Goek, Randy Cosno, Jeffrey Kohlbergen, they are catching this duo up. And see there, I believe that's Mike Larson coming down pit lane for what will be his final pit stop here, bringing the car down to what will be pace speed of 40 miles an hour. This is so slow. I mean, you know you're going to lose 2 laps. You know that you can't speed down pit lane. But Mike Larson here down into pit lane to make his final stop. And it looks as though, again, Tim Doyle has lost connection. This is going to be devastating. He's now scored 1 lap down. And having a look down, it looks as though Tim Doyle's race is going to be over. This is going to be heartbreaking for Tim Doyle, part of the Atlantic Club, racing in the number 11 Foyt Wines machine, as he has been managing to get his way back into the lead pack, fighting for the lead. And this surely now must mean that Sean Stroud's got a very good opportunity of taking the lead of this race all the way through to the end. So Sean Stroud is your race leader. 2nd is Nico Brandt. 3rd, Jonathan Goek. 4th, Randy Crosno. 5th, Jeffrey Kohlbergen. And then 6th is Giorgio Ponti. 7th, Danny Ent. 8th is Julian Pham. 9th, John Ailes. 9 cars still in the lead lap. We have got less than 50 laps to go here at Iowa for round 4 of the Afterburn IndyCar Series presented by Glacier TV. And there we have confirmation Tim Doyle's day is done. And heartbreak for Tim Doyle, who has led for large portions of this race, had fantastic battles with Sean Stroud in the number 21 virtualir.net machine. And I tell you what, not only will Tim Doyle be devastated, but I know Sean Stroud always likes having an intense race, and for him, maybe his just be a little bit bittersweet now. And it looks as though Nico Brandt's going to be coming down pit lane this time by, as we're working lap 207 of 250. Nico Brandt struggling to slow the car down. Don't spin it as you have to come down. Almost collecting it there. Looking to see there whether he gets a speeding penalty. Looks as though he will get himself a speeding penalty by the look of it. So Nico Brandt has now got issues of himself. Just having a look, it did look as though he was about 7 miles an hour fast as he came across the line. Whether or not he's going to be able to get himself away with that, because he did slow down to 30 miles an hour, is yet to be seen. Sean Stroud is still leading out front in the number 21 car. This promotes Jonathan Goek into 2nd, Jeffrey Kohlbergen into 3rd, Randy Crosno down into pit lane. Again, almost, in fact, I believe that Randy Crosno might have sped himself. Having a look to see where these drivers will feed back in, Nico Brandt is back out onto the racetrack. He looks as though he is just going to go down the standard 2 laps, so he might be able to get away with that. But Yanni Backman, green flag pit stops back out, back here at Iowa, and some drivers coming very close to ruining their race in these late stages.
Yeah, I hope that we don't see the repetition of the last time that someone tried to make a green flag pit stop when we had a couple of the fastest runners at the very top to being 2 laps down and having to fight their way back through the traffic. One of them being Jeffrey Kohlbergen, currently in 3rd place.
Yes, so Jeffrey Kohlbergen in the number 79 machine has managed to get himself back up into 3rd place for the time being. Jonathan Goek is currently sat in 2nd. Sean Stroud currently in 1st. Sean Stroud hasn't pitted yet. Neither has Jonathan Goek or Jeffrey. Sean Stroud into the wall! I cannot believe that! Taken out by Randy Crosno as Sean Stroud turned into the corner. Didn't realise that Randy Crosno was there. Unbelievable turn of events there. Multi-car incident. Nico Brandt involved there. I believe Robert Carlson might just have been able to get through okay, But I cannot believe that Sean Stroud's race from the lead is over.
Does Mosport ring a bell?
Just like Mosport, the leader, out of the race as Nico Brandt just gets himself a little bit of rear wing damage. It looks like he might be able to carry on, but then he gets tagged by Robert Carlson, flipped upside down. So you've got Randy Krosno involved, you have Robert Carlson involved, you have Sean Stroud. He looks like he can actually keep himself onto the racetrack. If he can get his car down to pit lane and make some repairs, there could still be hope for Sean Stroud. But I cannot believe this. Jonathan Goke is currently scored as your race leader. Unbelievable turn of events here as we are under caution with literally about 36 laps.
Yeah, well, thank goodness these guys got a good green stint behind them again, so they had the chance to catch the rhythm again properly, and we saw that as soon as the field got spread out, so that these guys got back in the rhythm. We saw a good long green stint, and that was an unfortunate way to end that.
So pit lane is open. You see Jeffrey Kohlberg and Jonathan Goke coming down pit lane. Dave Jinks, Sean Stroud as well. Giorgio Pontic. A couple of these cars again are going to be caught one lap down. Namely, Kari Kisman is going to be caught one lap down. Looks like Mike Larson is also going to be caught one lap down after this wave around. So for a lot of these drivers, this was the worst time possible for this to happen to them.
Yeah, this has to be like a culmination of all the bad things the race driver can possibly imagine. I mean, 250 laps with 2 to 3 good green stints, and now we're down to 35 laps of just sprints, and well, anybody who's been around iRacing on the ovals, the last 30 laps sprints, you know what's gonna happen. I just hope that we're gonna avoid that.
Yeah, it's going to get very intense very quickly here. Jonathan Goke is scored as your race leader. Jeffrey Kohlberg in second. Does look as though Sean Stroud's managed to get any damage to his car repaired, which I cannot believe. It looked as though, when they had a look back, he did just hit the wall with his front wing, and the car then flipped around. So God knows how damaged Sean Stroud's car is going to be. Danley Enchi's got himself up into the 4th position. Julian Pham is up, currently scored in 5th. John Ailes in 6th. But drivers going to be able to get the wave around. One or two of them are, namely Rene Murray and Mike Larson, both going to be able to get onto the lead lap. Both going to be able to get one of their laps back by the look of it. But like Richmond in 2009, I believe, the way the cautions rolled out means that drivers are caught laps down, and we only have 6 cars on the lead lap, which, to be fair, isn't representative of some of the skill in racing by some of these drivers, especially Mike Larson, who has led for quite a few periods of this race.
Yeah, I don't think last 35 laps we're gonna see people gaining that lap back. I really don't think that the top 6 are gonna make an extra pit stop unless they are forced to.
So we're going to try and get Sean Stroud down into the booth in just a moment's time. To refresh it one more time, Goke is your leader, Kohlberg in second, Stroud 3rd, Ench 4th, Pham in 5th, Ailes in 6th position. And you talked about how these last sprints can sometimes be so deadly for drivers. What do you really need to do, Yoni, to be able to, keep the racing clean and also get yourself back out into front? How many risks are you going to have to take here?
Well, basically, the common mistake that you see from people is just rush things. As soon as the green flag flies, just try to take too many places too fast. Just dive into tight spaces in the inside of the corner that you would not normally do. And when you're racing against a guy who would not expect you to do that, that's when you get a small clips. Then you get a 3 or 4 car pileups, and all you need to do is just take that. Just try. Be that little extra patient, and when you see a guy just diving in, just let him there for once. As we go green again.
So we're back to green flag racing here at Iowa. Sean Stroud currently in third position. We will try and talk to him after the race. Jonathan Goke is leading the way in the 08 Purple Fury machine. Jeffrey Koolbergen in second. Sean Stroud in third. Danny Ench in fourth. You see Koolbergen running a little bit high there on turn number 4. We've got 30 and a half laps to go here at Iowa. And Sean Stroud now definitely is going to be on his trial, trying to get himself back into first position. Danley Ench is in fourth, Julian Pham in fifth, John Ailes currently sat in the sixth position. And for drivers like Mike Larson now, he's going to be wanting to get himself through some of this traffic. He knows that he can still score at least 7th position here, but that's not going to be what Mike Larson wanted when he came into this race, when he clearly said he wanted a top 5 finish.
Yeah, that's exactly what he would have had without that misfortune, the pile of misfortune that we had in this race. And I hope, as we see Sean Stroud taking the second place away from Jeffrey Koolberg, and I just hope and pray that these guys just give the car enough time to get the tires up to temperature, get the rhythm back, and so we don't get any extra cautions anymore.
Thankfully, we've gone past that 5-ish lap window where some of these drivers on some very low tyre pressures at the start of their runs. So the drivers have got to be very careful as they come back, from a restart procedure. But I tell you what, Sean Stroud closing right back onto the back of Jonathan Goke. And we'll welcome Doyle Johnson back into the booth. Doyle, you have absolutely no idea what's happened the last few laps. But Sean Stroud is hunting down Jonathan Goke in the battle for first.
Well, absolutely. I must have missed something because I'm seeing only 6 cars on the lead lap and Jonathan Goke in first. So that is definitely a surprise for me.
So it looks as though Sean Stroud is going to see how quickly he can make the move. Looking down as they come out of turn number 4. He's not going to possibly be close enough to make the move this time by. Looking to the high side. Was he going to try and dummy? Not going to happen that time. Jonathan Goke and Sean Stroud race so often together. They know each and every move that they can do. They know each and every dummy. They know just where each other's strengths and weaknesses are. But Sean Stroud looking as though he's going to get down to the inside there. As he looks coming down into turn number 1. Sean Stroud back into the lead. And lap 227 of 250 here at Iowa Speedway. Less than 25 laps to go of the Iowa 250. Round 4 of the Afterburn IndyCar Series on Glacier TV. Sean Stroud is your race leader as Jonathan Goke looking back down to the inside just like Tim Doyle was doing earlier, knowing just how good that inside line can be. And Sean Stroud from first looks like he's been pushed all the way back down into the 3rd position yet again. And Sean Stroud trying to use that middle groove to his advantage. We've seen so often that if you can just tuck in behind the drivers and sweep immediately down to that inside lane, you can get yourself so much of an advantage. And Jeffrey Koolbergen had to get off the gas a little bit. This is going to give Sean Stroud the gap he needed to get himself clear and try and make the move back on Jonathan Goke. Jeffrey Koolbergen looks like he just got himself a little bit loose, had to get out of the throttle. But these 3 drivers have pulled away from Danny Ench in 4th. Ench is a good 2nd ahead of Julian Pham in 5th. John Ailes is in 6th as we ride on board with Jeffrey Koolbergen in 3rd.
Isn't that a Cinderella story? Will, I mean, drivers like Danley Ench, Julian Pham, John Ailes, generally when you look at the list of who's who in this field, those are the dark horse drivers that generally just come along and get whatever places they can. And look, they are in the top 5. And I'm sure they're really happy about that.
Not only in the top 5, but in the top 5 with less than 20 laps to go here at Iowa Speedway. Sean Stroud once again looking down to the inside. Looks as though across the line, Stroud had to get off the throttle there. Almost coming up the racetrack into Jeffrey Koolbergen. Jeffrey Koolbergen had some very good spatial awareness there. But Sean Stroud gets himself back into 3rd position. As he came across the line, Sean Stroud did lead that lap. Jonathan Goke, however, is your race leader once again. Koolbergen in 2nd, Stroud is in 3rd.
And we'll see if Jonathan Goke and Jeffrey Koolbergen, teammates for AeroX Racing there, is whether they can work together to keep just a 1-2 finish, or if Sean Stroud's going to go ahead and take them both to get himself up to the front.
Yes, so AeroX drivers Jonathan Goke and Jeffrey Koolbergen with 15 laps to go at the line. 1 and 2. Sean Stroud in 3rd position. Dan Lienges in 4th. Julian Pham 5th. John Ailes in 6th. Mike Larson has managed to get himself up into the 7th position. The first of the cars 1 lap down. Dave Jinks is in 8th. Giorgio Ponti in 9th. And for these drivers, you know, for people like Mike Larson to say he wanted a top 5 finish, he got caught a lap down in that sequence of green flag pit stops that went so horribly wrong for some drivers. But 7th position is better than he could have asked for in some ways, but he probably wishes that he had the chance to fight on the lead lap, because look, he is catching Julian Pham, who's 1 lap ahead of him.
It looks like Sean Stroud managed to procure himself a 2nd place right now, definitely in the hunt, chasing down Jonathan Goke yet again. Jeffrey Koolbergen definitely just kind of hanging back, waiting for his opportunity, just like the last time. I don't think we've seen the last of the changes up front here.
Sean Stroud once again down to the inside. Down to the inside as they come through turn number 1 and 2. Once again, Sean Stroud, and you see there, he's holding the bottom of the racetrack. He knows now that he needs to hold the bottom of the racetrack coming off the corner to prevent Jonathan Goke from using the crossover. But as he doesn't do
there
that,
he goes.
Down to the inside once again. Goke is down to the inside in the 08 machine. We are far from over here. As we come across the line this time by, we're going to have 10 laps to go at Iowa Speedway with Goke as your leader, and he gets sideways and gives Sean Stroud a position. Jonathan Goke somehow manages to keep it together, keep 2nd position. But for the moment, Sean Stroud just has a little bit of breathing space as Koolbergen wasn't quite able to make the move as Goke inside. Koolbergen just didn't have the steam to go around the outside.
Well, that was almost catastrophic for Jonathan Goke there. Somehow he managed to keep the speed up even though he was down on the apron. So we'll see how that plays out. Definitely Sean Stroud got a little bit of breathing room there, so hopefully they'll won't run out of race before they get a chance to see if they can overtake him again.
Iowa Speedway is known for its close finishes, and we are setting ourselves up for another one here as we have got under 10 laps to go at Iowa Speedway. The last 10 laps of the Iowa 250, round 4 of the Afterburn IndyCar Series and Glacier TV. Sean Stroud is your leader, but look at how quickly Jonathan Goke can close. Not going to be able to get close enough in turn 1 and 2, but look for him to try and swoop down to the inside line any point now. Sean Stroud is your race leader. Jeffrey Koolbergen in 3rd, and Dan Lienges is somehow managing to hold his own into this group as these drivers keep on fighting for position. He knows that if one of these drivers makes a mistake, he's in the opportunity to pounce. As see there, Jonathan Goke just starting to look down to the inside, but not quite close enough. As we come across the line, we're going to have 5 laps left to go. And here he goes. Jonathan Goke looked down to the inside, dummied across up to high side. Didn't manage to make the job work here. For Goke, do you think that he's just going to try and leave it to the last lap now?
Oh, he's going to try to get right up underneath the rear wing of Sean Stroud so he can take advantage of a little slingshot down to the inside.
We have got ourselves 4 laps to go here at Iowa Speedway. John Ailes currently in 6th position. Julian Pham in 5th. Dan Lienges in 4th. Jeffrey Koolbergen in 3rd. Jonathan Goke in 2nd. Right again on the back of that rear wing of Sean Stroud. How late is he going to leave it to try and make a move back for the lead? We've seen these two change the lead quite a lot in the last 30 laps or so. I see Sean Stroud there.
Oh no, Sean Stroud starting to blink.
As we come down across the line, 2 laps left to go. And for Jonathan Goke, he's looking down to the inside now with 2 to go. Jonathan Goke, is he going to try and make a move? Not quite got the draft in needed.
This is not a good time for Sean Stroud to have network issues.
1.5 laps to go, and as they come out of turn 4 this time by, the white flag will be in there. Jonathan Goke still hounding Sean Stroud for all it's worth. White flag this time by, and Sean Stroud looks like he's got himself enough breathing room through turn 1 and 2, but has Goke got enough left in the tank to make a chance to come through turn 3 and 4? Looks like he's getting ever so slightly closer. Look to see these drivers run all the way down the racetrack as they come down, and Jonathan Goke just so close between them. 7/100th of a second across the line. Sean Stroud is your race winner in the number 21.
That was a valiant effort by Jonathan Goke, trying to get down there low and get some position. That was great racing, excellent racing.
Jonathan Gogan, the 08 Purple Fury Team, LMX Racing Machine comes home second. Jeffrey Kohlbergen in third. Stanley Ench in fourth. Julian Pham in fifth. And as you see there, Pham almost getting collected by Sean Stroud as he's doing his celebratory donut. John Ells comes home in fifth. There's donuts all over the track here. And Mike Larson comes home in seventh position. Dave Jinks in 8th, Giorgio Ponti 9th, Rene Murray rounds out your top 10, Randy Krosno 11th, Robert Carlson in 12th, Nico Brandt in 13th, and we are going to start our pre-race interviews the only way you can possibly think of doing it, and that is going to be with the old guard, the duo, Sean Stroud, Jonathan Goke. 1-2, Sean, I'll come to you first. Just how close was it in that last lap?
Oh, it was good fun. John, I think he blinked just before the starting the final lap. Got inside my car, we touched, and somehow didn't crash. But that was good fun racing with Jonathan and Jeffrey. It was definitely tough because every time I passed John and he could get back underneath me, Jeffrey was there to push me back to third. So had to work hard for that one.
And you led for large portions of this race. Take us through that incident that caused the last caution flag, where it just looked as though there was a little bit of a lack of communication between yourself and Randy Krosno. Krosno trying to get back onto the racetrack. You obviously wanted to turn to turn 3 and ended up your car spearing towards the wall.
Yeah, that was completely my fault. I thought Randy was going into the pits and he wasn't, and I lost him completely from my vision. He got into one of the blind spots on the car and just turned in and he was there. I didn't even know he was there. Had no idea.
And a great result for you in that number 21 Team Afterburn machine. Jonathan Goke, you came home second in what was a tremendously close-fought race for those last 30 laps.
Yeah, coming into this race, if you'd have told me how to finish second, I would have been ecstatic. Now, after those last couple laps race with Sean, I'm kind of frustrated that I didn't, but if I'm going to lose to somebody, it might as well be my good friend Sean.
And the gap across the line, 7/100ths of a second. Was there anything else you could have done in those last couple of laps to try and take the win?
No, not really. Just maybe hoping he'd hit the apron or just try to nudge him out of the way, but I wouldn't do that to him.
And after a disappointing result at Homestead and at Daytona, I'm guessing this is just a really good way for you to bounce back into the series as you look to build going into the next couple of the road tracks, Mid-Ohio and Watkins Glen, and then back onto the oval at Kentucky.
Yep, sounds good. Don't know if I'll be running the road, but I'll try my best. I always seem to have a bad string of luck there. Never even touched Mid-Ohio, but I'll definitely be there at Watkins Glen.
And Jeffrey Kohlbergen came home third in the number 79 Aero X Racing machine. Jeffrey, for a moment, it looked as though you were right in the middle of that fight. Were you just waiting for the opportunity for either Goke or Stroud to make a mistake? Or did you have the legs to try and make a charge yourself?
I indeed tried and wait, but I also realized the last 10-15 laps that I came, let's say, 1/2 tenth short. So then I realized that a third position after this long race is pretty good. So I'm happy with this third place at the moment.
And starting third on the grid as well. Starting third, finishing third. That pretty much must have been all you could have asked for.
Yeah, indeed. Well, I think everybody's goal is to get at least a top 10 finish, and yeah, that was also my goal. So qualified third and finished third. So I'm yeah, again, pretty happy with this result.
And as a driver who tries to race as much of both the road and oval as possible, going forward to Mid-Ohio next week, is that a track that you're looking forward to in any way, shape or form?
Mid-Ohio is, well, I have the track. I'm not that familiar with it. So coming week, I'm going to, yeah, perform a lot of practice to get a hang of it and hopefully get a top 10 finish out of it.
And we'll bring Mike Larson over as well. Mike, you finished 7th, the first car 1 lap down. How annoying was it to be caught that lap down as that last sequence of green flag pit stop started to get underway? You made your pit stop, and then the caution flag came out.
Yeah, I was quite upset about that. But there wasn't much I could do about it. I think I made a really slow pit stop there as well, so I lost the spot, and suddenly I saw yellow and destroyed my race.
And apparently you've been given the award of the winner of the Iowa 250 Least Pit Stops Award with only 3 pit stops. But I know we talked to you last week coming into this race. You said that you wanted a top 5. How disappointed are you with 7th? And do you think that you could have had the opportunity to fight for the win had you have been able to stay in the lead lap?
Yeah, it would have been close. Both Jeffrey, Jonathan, and Sean are quite fast. It would have been close, but I would have been happy with a 3rd. With a 7th, no, not the way it finished.
And going back to the road course at Mid-Ohio next week. Mid-Ohio is a very difficult, technical, challenging racetrack, and I know you love those types of racetracks. Are you looking forward to Mid-Ohio, or is it going to be Watkins Glen in 2 weeks' time that will tickle your fancy more?
No, Mid-Ohio is a good track. I kind of like it, so I'll put the work in, try to get up there again.
And very well done for you for your 7th position. Disappointing that you were caught a lap down. Part of the difficulties of Iowa Speedway, if you have to put under green, you do pretty much lose 2 laps all the time to the race leader. But we'll see you all hopefully at Mid-Ohio. And that concludes round 4 of the Afterburn IndyCar Series here at Iowa Speedway. Sean Stroud is the winner of the Iowa 250. With Jonathan Goke in 2nd, Jeffrey Koolbergen in 3rd. Sean Stroud 1st, Jonathan Goke 2nd, Jeffrey Koolbergen in 3rd, down the engine 4th, Julian Pham running out your top 5. We'll be back next week at Mid-Ohio on the 1st of April, so I'm sure that our Glacier TV people will do some form of an April Fool's joke. But until then, we'll see you all next week.